Hello everyone, it's Aaron again. As I promised in my last video, I'm here to talk about safety a little bit. And I hope you guys will bear with me as I go through this process, but if it gets a little long, feel free to turn it off. I'm trying to keep it down, but I'm not sure where it's going. There's a number of things I want to try to address here. But the first thing I want to talk about is this, the transition for me and the transition for many from powder burners to PCPs. And how we went way down in power when we went to PCPs, but went way up in safety. Not PCPs, but with springers. When we went from guns that were shooting 1,700 feet per second, down to guns that were shooting 800 feet per second. But it was necessary to do so, and I want to talk about that. First of all, let me just take you through the genesis of my powder burning days. For me, it was, except for shotguns for rabbit hunting, and of course deer slayer slugs for deer season, I was a 22 man. And I had and have all three of my 22s that I used from back in the day. I haven't shot them in 5 years, I think. It's been at least 5 years since I had them out of the box. But the first one is the famous and the infamous Ruger 1022. Back in the day, this was probably the most popular gun in the world for 22s. I had one, my brother had one, all of my friends had them, and it was just a gun. And with this gun here, anything that I aimed at where I could get a stationary situation where I could really keep the crosshairs still, if it was inside of 100 yards, it was dead. This thing here was just amazing inside 100 yards, and to tell you the truth, it's very seldom I shot it probably past 70 yards, really. But this gun here set the standard. But again, the thing that you have to remember with the gun is, what is the range of it? This gun here can shoot over a mile. So if you have it at the right elevation and you pull that trigger, that thing can travel a mile before it hit Earth. Okay, so when we were shooting 22s, when I was shooting 22s, I mainly used this thing for squirrel hunting when I had it elevated. For other things that we hunted, rabbits and that sort of thing, out in fields and so on, you're always shooting down, so you didn't worry about safety because it was going to impact the rabbit, it was going to impact the ground. No, it was squirrel hunting when I was most sensitive with this gun. Because it was at those times that I would have to elevate this gun and I would shoot at a squirrel. And if I happen to miss that squirrel and there's nothing behind it, that bullet can go 1 mile. So whenever I pulled the trigger on this, I made sure of two things. There were always a backstop. Okay, I look at the tree that I'm aiming at. If he's against the tree, I'm taking the shot because the tree is going to stop it. If he's sitting out on a limb, I'm looking beyond that limb to make sure there are a lot of trees back there. So if I miss him, it's going to hit one of those trees back there. It's not going to exit the woods. It's not going to exit that high elevation I already have it aimed at. So safety minded big time with these because of the effective range of this particular thing. A mile, if it can travel a mile and hit someone, that has got to be a bad situation for people that are out there who are using this gun and not paying attention to what they're doing. My second one, and this was my gun of choice for, I did a lot of fox hunting. And this gun here, this is my Remington Model 597 22 Magnum. Now this thing here would reach out and touch something, okay? I had it zeroed, I had it out to 150 yards. I figured I'm never going to take a shot longer than 150 yards with this thing, and I never did. Matter of fact, many of the foxes, I'll put up some pictures here so you can see them. Many of the foxes and other things I took with this gun, I took all of them well inside of 100 yards. But if I wanted to reach out and touch something, this thing here, this 22 Magnum, shooting, I think it's 1,700 feet per second, and there was some you can get all the way up to almost 2,000 feet per second. But when I had this thing out, I never aimed it in the air. This thing it shot either horizontally or down. It never shot up because this thing has the effective range of 1.5 miles. And so if you miss what you have, this thing is still traveling, you know, long after you've dropped it down to the side and turned your head. That bullet's still in the air, headed somewhere. And so you have to be responsible for that bullet once you pull the trigger, as I said. So I had to be extremely careful with this. That's why I only hunted things that walked on the ground with this particular gun. Now my last one, really, my Ruger I love the best, but my last gun I fell in love with for this. I found out that they had a 22 out. They had a 22 out that would shoot all 3 22s. I didn't think that was possible, and it's an automatic. This thing shot longs, long rifles, and 22 shorts, and never jammed. This gun here is probably, and it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys who really know about guns, it's my understanding that there's only been 2 guns built in history that can shoot all 3 22 cartridges in an automatic version. So this is the Remington Speedmaster, and it's model 552. And as I said, I can put shorts in it. Now this is where liability for me started to kick in. When I found out this gun existed, I went and found one. I could put 22 shorts in here that was shooting probably at, I don't know, 700 feet per second, 800 feet per second. So I really didn't have to worry about, when I pulled that trigger, I didn't have to worry about that thing going very far. And if I hit the prey, I didn't have to worry about it coming out the other side with too much velocity left on it. So this was my gun of choice for squirrel hunting and those types of things. The range was down because I had too much rate of drop to shoot it over 50 yards because the bullet was so heavy. But again, even back then, safety, safety, safety. Because I didn't want to lose my home and my car and all my savings because of an errant shot. And every time you pull the trigger, there's a chance that that could happen. Even with so-called air guns, as we call them PCPs. Okay, so I just wanted to just start there to understand that this whole idea of safety, this whole idea of where's that bullet going and what is the potential of it doing harm downrange without my knowing it and putting myself at risk and my family at risk because I'm out having fun with my guns. Okay, so it starts here. It started here with the powder burners, and now it's carrying over into the PCPs. So let me lay this gun aside and let me pull out another gun that changed everything for me. And I'll give you a little history of this too. This is a Diana Model 34. My first Springer, break barrel, whatever you want to call it, in 177. At the time that I bought this, 177 was a standard. I bought this in 1995. This gun was the standard in terms of caliber. Everybody had a 177, and we did great things with it. This gun has taken down everything you can name. Everything I would kill with a PCP, I've taken down with this little 177 shooting at about 800 feet per second. This gun is taking out, oh God, I don't know how many rabbits. Squirrels by the millions, I'm thinking. Pigeons. We went down to Ohio once on a farm down there and went dove hunting. I've gotten woodchucks with it, headshots of course. I've gotten raccoons with it, headshots. I've gotten possums with it. This gun here was all the caliber we needed to hunt anything you wanted us to hunt. Limited range, yes. Okay, for small animals, sparrows, that sort of thing, 25 yards in the end probably. As you got into pigeons, you could go 30. And bigger things you could even go out to 40 yards with. But for me, I don't think I would pull I pulled the trigger one time on this, and I killed a squirrel, and I steal my record with this. I killed a squirrel, and I paced it off, and it was 50 yards away. That's the greatest shot I ever made with this gun. I know it doesn't sound like much compared to what they're saying now, but this is a Springer. And if you don't know anything about Springers, get one, shoot a PCP, and then get one of these and pull the trigger. It'll scare you. When that spring goes off and all that power and that piston goes forward and this gun bucks and all the noise, it's something else to shoot. But needless to say, when we were hunting with this thing, safety was not a big deal. If you shot a squirrel, you found a pellet in it. If you shot a pigeon, you found a pellet in it most of the time. Anything you shot, when you cleaned it, you found a pellet in it. This thing, there was very, very few pass-throughs with this particular gun. So if you hit your target, you were safe. And if you missed your target, because it was 177, the first time it hits a branch or a bush or whatever, it is terminated. It's not going to go any further. So with this, I never thought of safety that much. I watched my shots, but I didn't think about safety that much because I was back with a gun that really wasn't going to get me in too much trouble. And I shot this thing in my backyard every day. And I want to say this just about this particular gun. I had this gun since 1995, and up until 5 years ago when I got my first PCP, I shot this gun every day. I don't know how many rounds have been put through this thing. And it's never been in the shop. It's never had a problem. And I can still shoot it lights out at 30 yards from a bench rest position. Okay, so why am I talking about all of this? And in terms of safety, this is why I'm talking about it. People are starting to comment to me about their purchases. Things like, Aaron, oh, I have a 30 caliber FX coming in a few days. I'm excited. Oh, I just got my 25 on my 30 cal FX, and boy, the squirrels are scared in the backyard. In the backyard, 30 cal. Okay. It sounds to me like a lot of people out there are buying guns based on all of this propaganda that is being thrown at you guys over what these guns can do at long ranges. And so now everybody's got to have this particular gun because in this particular barrel, because this barrel is made especially for slugs, and slugs were being shot long before this gun even came up with it. And I'm not naming any guns today. You can fill in the blank for yourself. And the thing about it is this, is that they're making these fantastic shots and they're selling these big calibers and they're selling slugs. And it's overkill. You shoot a squirrel with a 30 caliber, you must be doing it for sports. You sure not doing it for food. Because you're gonna blow him up. I mean, that's way too much caliber to be shooting. Now, okay, if you're hunting foxes, if you're hunting coyotes, okay. But my God, don't shoot a 30 cal pigeon. Please don't shoot a sparrow. Because it's gonna go in at 950 feet per second. It's gonna come out the back of that sparrow doing 925 feet per second. It makes no sense. Okay, and let me just say this. I am talking about this not for concern for you guys as much as a concern for myself. Because right now I can go into my backyard and I can take my PCPs. I got a 25 cal and I don't shoot it in the backyard. That goes to the range or that goes to the woods. I don't shoot that in the backyard. It's way, the gun is quiet, but when that pellet hits down range, even though I got a real good backstop, it makes a lot of noise. And the neighbors don't hear the gun going off. They hear the impact of the pellet. I seldom shoot my 22 in the backyard unless my neighbors are gone or all in the house. But I shoot my 177 all day long with no problem in the backyard. What I'm concerned with is there's guys out there that are going to they're going to be in a neighborhood and they're going to take out their 30 cal and they're going to see a squirrel up in the tree or they're going to see a bird on the feeder. And they're going to shoot at that bird, they're going to miss. And when they do, I really hope that they understand that that pellet is still traveling with a lot of deadly force behind it. And there are a lot of things out there it could end up terminating gone. And I think that we're only one or two pretty substantial accidents away from legislation. And all of a sudden, a thing comes out saying it is unlawful to shoot a PCP or air rifle in the city limits. I live in a township. In the township, or wherever. They're restricted now to the woods, and they're also restricted to ranges. That's the only place you can shoot them now legally. The only reason that I want a PCP is because I can shoot them in places where I can't shoot any of those other 3 guns. I can't take those 22s and shoot them in my backyard. I go out there and pull off a couple rounds. Police gonna be at the front door 2 minutes after that. The whole reveal. Why should you go out? Think about this for a second. Why should you go out and pay $2,000 for a gun that you can't shoot at home? You gotta take it to the range. If you're gonna take it to the range, have to take it to the range, get one of these 22s. I think Ruger cost me $170. I think the 22 Magnum, I think I paid $350 for that one. And the other gun I got it used from a guy for $125. Okay, all those guns added up together, I don't think that comes to half of what I paid for my Wildcat. So once you give up the privilege of shooting it at home, once you give up the privilege of shooting it when you want to shoot it, where you want to shoot it, because of caliber, you just got screwed, in my opinion. And not only did you get screwed, you're putting yourself at big risk of getting sued for hitting someone, something with it, and them taking you to court. That's all I'm saying with this whole safety thing. So right now, today, we're talking about backyard safety. My next video, I'm gonna take you to the farms. I'm gonna show you how we scout farms and know what's over that rooftop. So if there's a pigeon up there and I shoot the pigeon and I miss, I know where that pellet's gonna land. Okay? I know the range of it. And also I want to take a look at ricochet. Because this is something I did at the farm. I tested at the farm. I shot down when the cows were not around feeding, they were in the back. I shot down into the concrete and had in the pellet flattened out, did not ricochet up, flattened out and hit into the food in the backstop back there. And I did that several times at different angles to make sure that pellet was not going to hit and rise up to where cows were. And so between coming in at not a steep angle, hitting the ground, and then being able to hit, there's a backstop there, probably about 10, 12 inches high. And there's also all of the food. The bullet, it's not going to pass through. So we're going to talk about that and how you find safety in hunting when you're pesting around animals and buildings. But let me just close by saying this, because I really just want to pass on the information that if you don't remember anything about this in video, remember this. When you pull the trigger, you're responsible for the bullet. The liability is yours. Give that some thought before you end up losing it all, having fun in your backyard with a 30 cal. Okay, that's one of the reasons. But also, let me talk about when you get ready to buy a gun, instead of going for all the hype and being able to go, I got me a thing and I can shoot a pigeon at 350 yards, da 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 da. Another thing I'm gonna do. Ken has some pigeons decoys, and he's loaned me one. Okay, I'm gonna take a pigeon out to because the guy claimed that he shot a pigeon while pesting at 235 yards. I'm not doubting it, but I want to show you how difficult that is and let you determine whether or not you think he made that shot in a pesting situation. Now, if he's on a bench rest and if he got wind monitors out there showing him the swirls of the wind, and he looks at it, he knows everything he needs to know in terms of the barometric pressure, the wind velocity, the temperature, all those things that have an effect on a pellet or a slug at that distance, coming out, leaving the barrel at under 1,000 feet per second, and the arc it takes to go 200. He probably was aiming, I don't know, probably a skyscraper over the thing's head for it to arc in and get him at that rate. These things are not shooting flat like an AR, you guys. So we want to talk a little bit about that also. I'm gonna take you out and we're gonna look at a golf ball. With the side shot allows me to do that. We're gonna look at a golf ball at 250 yards. Okay, and we're gonna look at a pigeon at 250 yards. And we're going to talk about these fantastic shots that are being made off the cuff at those ranges with no idea of the wind or anything else, and not being able to stabilize on a bench rest where you're locked. You got to get on the fence post. You got to use shooting sticks. You got to lean up against a tree. And I want you to show you how hard it is to try to hold that little X on that little tiny golf ball that's out there 250 yards away, let alone hit it. So that when people throw these fantastic things up there, and I guarantee you before the summer's out, someone's going to post this. And if I'm wrong, I'll give everybody out there $1. Someone's going to post with an FX a 300-yard shot at, there'll probably be a sparrow because they want to really sensationalize it, but at least a pigeon or a dove or something. I guarantee it's coming because they're trying to make the 100-yard shot obsolete. And they're trying to convince you to buy a gun that makes that obsolete. And the crazy thing about that is, and I know I'm off the subject of safety right now, but I'm still on it in terms of how far these things shoot. Everybody said to me, 30 yards, 40 yards, there ain't nothing. What is it doing at 100? They're trying to up the game to the point where the next conversation is, I'm going to be shooting a gun at 50 yards. They're going to say, 50 yards, what can it do at 200? It's crazy. You're not going to get shots at 200. If you buy a gun today and hunt with it from 1995 to today, as I did with this gun here, 99.9% of your shots are going to be inside 50 yards. And yet, you're paying a ton of money for a gun that says that it can do these things at 230 yards. But you'll never know, and you'll never make the shot either, because it's just too difficult. It's too difficult. You're being sold a pile of goods. Snake oil salesman did not go out with the Dust Bowl. They're alive and well now, and they're all over YouTube. So don't fall for the hype of the distance, but understand this: fall for the liability of the distance, because this gun can actually shoot a 30 grain pellet, or 35 grain, or even a 40 grain pellet, 230 yards. Then you have to worry about that 35-yard shot at that pigeon, because if you miss, that thing's going another 200 yards, just like it did back with the guns we had. And that's why when we pest with 177s. We don't do it, and everybody's saying, use bigger guns, use bigger guns. I refuse to. I'm on somebody's property. I'm shooting at things on their property. There are people walking around feeding cows and in machinery and doing things. And in that particular case, in one place, both places, the farmer's house is right there. And in one particular case, there's more than one. Their family member house is there. And you need to know where each one of those houses are as you shoot over rooftops and that sort of thing. And I worked really hard to get the little stuff I do have. And I don't want to go into court and end up getting a settlement that would take out everything I have and send me down to the shelter. Just because I happen to be outside having fun with my overpowered 25 or 30 cal in my backyard shooting at squirrels. So, let me just close by this. A lot of people have asked me, Aaron, I'm getting my first PCP, what do you recommend? And usually when they ask me that in talking about a particular gun, make a recommendation for a gun. But I want to take it further than that. I can't make a recommendation for a gun, okay? Because there's a lot of questions you need to answer before you even consider get the gun, okay? 90% of the time, where will you be shooting the gun at? 90% of my shots are in the backyard. 90%. Secondly, what's the average distance you're going to be shooting at? My average distance is 30 or 40 yards. That's as far as I can shoot in my backyard. And that's what 90% of my stuff is done. Secondly, what is the best caliber for what it is I want to do? And lastly, what is the best amount to pay for that particular gun to do those exact things? If you do that, you will never be sold a $2,000 gun. I don't think you would ever buy a $2,000 gun unless you're the type of guy who wants to brag. I have an FX and a guy just shot an eye out of a sparrow at 660 yards, and that's the gun I got. Now, if you're one of those guys, go ahead and spend your money. But if you're realistic and you know exactly what it is you want to do with that gun, and it only takes a sub $500 gun to do it, and you go out and you pay $2,000 for a gun, they got you. Okay. Now, if you shooting bench rests and you shooting competition and that sort of thing, yeah, go with the best gun you can get, because you're shooting against other guys' guns, and you're trying to win trophies, and you're trying to get as many points as you can. But if you're out shooting at a pigeon, and that pigeon have to be 230 yards away, and you shoot and you miss, I don't think you're gonna care. Say, wow, well, that was a long shot, and you'll move on. If you hit it, you'll say, wow, that was the greatest shot of my life. But I don't think you're gonna live and die on making a 230-yard shot, when in all instances, a very good case that you'll never make that shot. So don't be as concerned about the accuracy of the gun as the caliber. Don't be as concerned about the shooting distance of the gun as much as the liability that can happen at that distance if there happens to be a house at the termination point, or a little kid playing in the backyard, or a dog out on a walk, or whatever it could hit, or a car driving down the road, and all of a sudden this pellet hits and a big investigation goes on. They ask questions, and the farmer said, well, I had a guy out here yesterday, and he was shooting, he was pesting. What's his name? They come to you, and there it is, okay? I'm not talking about this stuff to be joking. I'm not talking about it for that. I know I'm a little off the subject, a little, and like I said, you guys feel free to turn the knob, at those times when I do that. I just got so much stuff on my mind because of the questions that I get, and the information I'm shared with by people who are getting their first PCP, and they're getting a cannon when all they need is a pea shooter, and then work their way up later if they want to. Now let me just say this. I'm not talking to people who got 5 or 6 guns, like we go, We got guns. I got 5, kid got dozens. And when we get ready to go, we say, okay, where we going today? Hey, let's go pest. Let's go out in the woods and shoot chipmunks. Now, when we're going to the woods to shoot chipmunks, I got a friend, let's come in the woods, and if you watch the video of us shooting chipmunks, you can take your 50 cal in, because you're in the woods, and you're shooting down at chipmunks. When it hits the chipmunks in the ground, or if you miss the chipmunks in the ground. Okay? You can take a 60 cal if you go for that. But please, you guys, when you start to elevate that muzzle, think about it. Think about what you have in the hand, how far it can go, and the damage can be done, and the things that can happen to you if it happens that way. I'm sorry I rambled a little bit on this. I'll be more succinct in the next one because I know exactly what I want to do. This is just kind of off the cuff talking to you. But the next video, I'm going to go to the farm, and we're going to take a walk around the farm, and we're going to look at the dangers of the shots that can be taken and those that should not be taken. And you got to be informed about that. Don't just walk on a property and say, we pesting, and start shooting, especially if there's no backstop. Make sure you know where that pellet's got to terminate. So with that, I'm just going to end by showing you a few pictures of things that I did with my 22s over there, and with my brake barrels. I will say this now. I did have one of the brake barrel. I sold it when I got my PCPs. I had a 350 Magnum, and that thing was a beast. And it was a 177, but that thing reached out and touched someone. It had a powerful spring in it, and I think I got a picture of me. I went crow hunting with it, and I took a picture with the crow, so we'll show that too. So I want to thank you for your time. Look forward to the next video, and I'm sorry I rambled on this one, but That's what I do sometimes, because it's not scripted. I'm just going off the cuff. Again, I want to thank all you guys for tuning in. I want to thank those guys of you who have subscribed to my channel. And I want to thank you guys for your comments. I welcome all comments. I try to answer them in a thoughtful way. And I try to be real. And I try to be honest. So, thanks. Let's just keep having fun and keep it safe. I don't want to lose my backyard privileges because you shot an errant shot and some politician decided to get elected on that. Have a good day.